Does anyone else think it's about time to check back in on Middle-earth, see how things are going over there? Well, today we've got a couple of matches submitted to me by players of the Turin second beginners tournament for the Age of the Ring Battle for Middle-earth 2 beginners tournament that Turin hosted. The second one he hosted, so it was not one that I played in. So I asked the community if they had gotten any good matches, things that they had fun in. Save a replay and send it to me, and we'll cast it and see how it goes. So these were things that were not on Turin's stream. So these are things that went down elsewhere in the bracket. Today we have Undecided in green on Dolguldur and Uglesnuff on the dreaded gray Erebor. I hate the gray, it's very hard to see on the map. These are beginner games as well, so these are players still feeling out 1v1 matchups, getting used to things. Uglesnuff here has gone for 1 mine, 2 into the forge here. What's its technical name? The Grand Forge, forgive me. Then straight into a barracks to start a Hall of Warriors to start making some units. Meanwhile, down south, our Dolguldurian player, Undecided here, has gone for the Spider Lair and a quick Fell Brood. So we'll see if the dwarfs are able to get some spears on the spear units on the field. The Fellbrood technically count as cavalry, I believe, or at least function as cavalry, where they can trample down swordsman units and archer units. But spears will stab them good. Spiders come down, and they are headed north to see what they could find. Already some dwarvish axemen on the field, and indeed we got spears out as a second unit. So either very fortunate or good anticipation of what he might be facing here. A couple of dwarf units here, just chilling in the middle for now. Fellbrood pushing in along the top. We've got a jail going up for Dolguldur and starting to make some broken rabble. Very cheap, but they can do a little bit of fighting. Spiders find themselves a mine in the backfield, and they're going to work on it. Will the dwarves get to it? And now here we see the weakness of the Grand Forge as an opening next to your barracks. Normally, if you had a mine here, you would be able to build a unit from the barracks, load it straight into the mine, and then unload it right where you need it to be. You definitely want to take advantage of the mine network whenever possible as dwarfs. Fellbrood's able to clean that up and book it. Chased by the stunties with spears, they could probably cause a fair bit of extra damage here. On the front line, the Dwarven Warriors come in. They find themselves some broken rabble, which they will dominate. They throw down a war horn just for a little extra domination, the Horn of Erebor. Pretty unnecessary for that fight. Typically, you'd save your horn to make sure you bash down a resource structure. Another Dwarven unit here, a couple more broken rabble. The broken rabble are going to get farmed, but we do have a second Fellbrood on the field. And these Dwarven Axemen are not going to have a good counter for that. It's going to take a fair few tramples to get through them, but the spiders have it in them. They should be able to handle this, and we don't have spears nearby. Second Fellbrood that was in the dwarf base loops all the way back around, back home to defend. More broken rabble coming out. Very aggressive forward expansion from the dwarfs. We've got a dwarf mine in the middle, a Erebor well going up right on the front lines. This allows the dwarves to heal, but there's no dwarves here to heal. Indeed, the well's not even done. I think he cancels it there. The builder's got to run. He's getting spider bitten. Manages to get in the mine. He's okay. But there's no dwarves here in the front lines. Looks like they're warg creeping back here. At least they killed the wargs, but they're not working on the den. They're making their way to the front line, see if they could punish these spiders before they lose this forward mine. We're not seeing any aggressive flank forward mines at all. It looks like pretty cautious expansion from the dwarves. Well, cautious along the flanks at least, not cautious in the middle. Starting to see guard towers go up in the middle. Dwarves trying to secure these front lines. And over here, what is this? A Fount of Corruption going up for Dolguldur here. We're starting to get some orc hunters on the field. That's archers. Dwarfs hate archers. And looks like they're trading quite well. The broken rabble are still just rabble, so they can even do fine into the dwarven spears. But the archers are not what the spears want to be fighting. A second dwarven tower goes up. Towers are an unconventional pick. We don't see a ton of towers in the higher end play. The rabble are able to clean up that forward mine, though. We've got a builder in danger here. Spiders headed up along the north. Also some expansion in the north by Dolguldur. And a lot of the tension in the middle. Mithril tipped arrows coming out, at least on the top tower. I don't know. The dwarves are getting pushed back here. I don't know if they're going to be able to make good use of that. There's a whole lot of orcish hunters and broken rabble here. Dwarves are doing their best. Just axe dwarves and spear dwarves in here, fighting through. Trading really poorly into the orc hunters here. Almost level 2 on these orc hunters. Those hunters up top were doing okay, but got eaten by a warg and a handful of dwarfs up there too. But looks like the towers, maybe, with the mithril-tipped arrows, were able to sort of turn the tide on that one and save it out. The dwarfs being able to hold firm long enough. Also mithril-tipped arrows on the other one. In the backfield, the spiders have found themselves a builder. He's running for it. Is he going to escape? Dwarf Spear's here to try to save the day. We got a horn down, but the builder does fall. A couple of spiders die for the trouble, but not too bad. I think they might have gotten a forward mine up here, but maybe not. Hard to say. I didn't know if he'd expanded quite up that high. More dwarves reinforcing the front line. I think I'd really love to see some Grim Hammers, because we have a pretty large spam. Well, I was about to say we've had a large spam force, but now we're starting to see higher tier, more elite units coming in from Dol Guldur. The Orc Ravagers, big, chunky orcs with axes. Very strong damage against other infantry, strong damage against buildings. Would be somewhat a little bit vulnerable to being trampled, but we don't have anything that can do that on the field for the dwarves. Dwarfs are all in on Hall of Warriors, no other tech. We are seeing some Grim Hammers coming up. Grim Hammers are the higher tier dwarf units that are really good at killing spam units. They do a bit of AoE damage, but not the greatest counterpoint for the Ravagers. We are seeing some archers, though. Archers will be good against the Ravagers. We got some ravens flying around. And the towers, against all odds, are holding tight and probably are pretty useful against the Ravagers. Actually, the mithril-tipped arrows will make them do pretty okay damage here. Losing some hammerers against the wargs. The wargs actually count as kind of cavalry units and are able to trample some of the hammers down, so that's a poor trade there. You want your spears to take the wargs. In come another line of Ravagers. Are the dwarves, the lower tier dwarf infantry, going to be able to hold? We have a call-in also from some orc jailers. They're spears, so they're really just bodies. They're not going to be able to do a whole lot against the orc forces. In the backfield, though, the Fellbrood causing mischief. Looks like they got down at least one mine back here. When he gets there, he's going to start on another. In the front line, looks like the Ravagers got cleaned up yet again for the most part. There's still one squad here. Oh, they're trampling in. But the dwarfs are trading okay. Ravagers actually level up, so they've been doing some good work. That one squad that survived there. Dwarfs forced to fall back with what they have here. Ravagers delve a bit greedily, and the towers are starting to pick them off again. These towers are doing some work, actually, surprisingly enough. In the backfield, the Fellbrood has cleared up another mine. They get to work building a new one before they've even dealt with the Fellbrood. That's bold, but the Sigyn Udrig, the dwarvish spearmen, do show up and chase off those spiders. And we're back to status quo in the middle. 550 command points for the dwarfs. 600 now. 850 for Dol Guldur. So economic and command point advantage for the Dark Necromancer. And we're seeing a lot of Ravagers come out. Ravagers are trading pretty well into the dwarfs. A higher tier infantry here. Fairly expensive. 600 cost. Big, tough, sword-ish axe infantry. We've got some hammerers, grim hammers, spears, more grim hammers. I don't know if the hammers are the way to go against the Ravagers. Ravagers are a bit more of an elite, tough fighting option, and the hammers, I think, are more for sort of AoE and the lighter hit point chaff, but I don't know my dwarfs super well. Also, we've seen some pretty aggressive expansion along the edges for Dolguldur economically. Big dwarf force here, pushing forward, straight into the Dolguldur and Ravagers. We do have Crimple the Torturer on the field. Dwarvish Horn goes down, but the Forest of Fear comes out. Forest of Fear is going to be a nice use by Dolguldur. It's a strong buff to their units. It's a debuff to enemy units. It summons a bunch of spiders that run around and bite people. That was a very chunky dwarf force there. It's really difficult to see what's going on, but it looks like the dwarfs are routed. They're falling back through the forest here. And there are still quite a few Orcish Ravagers here, including a level 3 unit there, although they're getting chopped up now. Are the Orcs going to be able to clear off these guard towers, which continue to just pepper arrows in? You didn't load them with anything. You can load your own archers in. Looks like we summoned Crimple's Jail here to start making some broken rabble. They're pulling down the well, so it looks like Dolguldur's committing. Oh, we got a backline of some Blighted Trappers. These are some quite strong ranged units for Dolguldur. So Dolguldur investing in some higher tier infantry, and we still have most of the same old coming out from the dwarfs. Up to 1,000 command points on Dolguldur, 750 for the dwarfs, nothing in the bank on the dwarfs. I think the trades have been going poorly. The higher tier Dolguldur units have been trading well, and now we got Dwarven Spears coming up, but that's no good for them. Spears are not how you fight this Dolguldur force, and indeed we've got Entwives coming out for the siege damage. Dwarf towers are cleared up, and the green menace of Dolguldur has firmly secured the middle crossing. They've got strong expansion along the... There's a tower up top. Strong expansion along the flanks, so it's certainly a strategic economic advantage. And they've got higher tier units. They're pressing in. They've got the Entwives as siege. It's going to be big trouble for our dwarf friends here. Are they going to be able to turn this around? Got a whole bunch of spiders down south, but they're just hanging out while all the macro happens in the middle. Buffs going down. We got 16 points sitting on for Dolguldur here. He doesn't even need them. The Entwives were able to clean up that forward dwarvish barracks. They're working on the dwarven mines, and the dwarves just have not been able to deal with the orc ravagers, especially backed up by the blighted trappers. It's a really strong combination. I think you need some sort of cavalry or your own sort of elite units to be able to trade properly into that. Some forward slave mill as Dolguldur is advancing forward here. The spiders have gotten to work down south and cleaning up. I guess there's a mine here. They're not exactly cleaning up, but we've got a strong push here, and it looks like 600 command points of Dolguldur on the field and 180 from the dwarfs. The dwarfs just don't have the tools to deal with this. I think their days are numbered. I see Kargast on the field here also to help out Dolguldur. A final stand by the dwarfs. The horns of Erebor sound. Kargast the White is in there, stabbing people. Orc Ravagers. Crimple's in there somewhere. He drops down Crimple's Jail. Oh, I see Crimple. He's almost dead, but he made it up to level 7, and he books it out in time. Nice. Good micro. Keep your heroes alive, folks. And there's just no way to stop the Entwives, even. Most of the Orcish front line is dead. Spiders are coming in the back. He's going to lose his barracks here before. He doesn't have any money. He's got 0 command points in units. I think that is GG. Dolguldur for undecided. Very solid. Takes out Ugel Snoof on Erebor. It's a fun match. Dolguldur versus Erebor. I think the value trading was really poor for the dwarves after a while. They were doing great early on, and then they never quite teched up past their the Halls of Warriors, or they did too lately. And the relatively quick switch into Orc Ravagers. Ooh, I do love seeing the Rams come out. Those are glorious. But the Necromancer is here as well, so it's all over. It's all over. Yeah, I think the mid-game trading went very poor for the dwarves, and they got kind of outvalued. They got out-expanded a bit. They weren't really able to put any pressure on the flanks, so all of these extra slave mills were able to make a lot of money. And the dwarfs just fell behind economically and technologically. Dolguldur did well. Weathered the storm in the middle. Had some trouble early on. I actually did like the double tower push. There's some gold nobody grabbed. I did even like the double tower push from the dwarves. That seemed like it was getting some pretty decent value for quite some time for them, but it came at an expense of units of other expansion, perhaps technologically or economically, and as we can see, it cost them. It cost him. GG undecided, taking Dolguldur and the dwarves to the cleaners. And that's all she wrote. The Erebor fortress is about to fall. There is still a workshop on the field. And there it is. He calls it. Game number 1. I think I got a couple games to show you today. Let's keep going. I got more for you. Let's do... Everybody loves some dwarves. Let's do some more dwarves here. This one, I believe, is Melitsana, one of our Gondorian champions, facing off against Ivaniel, an Erebor. Melitsana and a red Gondor, Ivaniel in another gray Erebor. Stop playing gray, folks. I hate it. Melitsana was, I think, the runner-up of the very first, took second place in the very first beginners tournament, so a very capable Gondor player. Very strong. Ivaniel I haven't seen play as much, but I believe is quite capable as well, so we'll see how this one goes. What's Gondor doing? 3 granaries, 3 farms. Looks like it's going to be 4, if I had to guess. Straight into 4 farms. Meanwhile, up top, it is 2 dwarven mines straight into Hall of Warriors. And a very cautious one placed in the back as well. Oftentimes you would see them placed alongside your front mines. That way the defenders and the space that they take up can help to defend your more vulnerable mines, more likely to be attacked by enemies. Also, this mine is way out here, just out on its own. Typically you also see your 3 mines in sort of a triangle around your fortress, so your fortress can help protect them. But we're going wild today. We're going beginner style out here. Who knows what's going to happen? We've got the barracks online for the infantry. We've got some Lamadon clansmen queued up. I hate those guys. They trade very well into my beloved Hobbit Bounders, which gives me anger and rage in my heart whenever I think about the Lamadon clansmen, because I dearly love my hobbits. Also, we've got a stables online already. Pinnith-Gellin riders queued up. Okay, so we've gone 4 farms, into barracks, into stables, and I imagine he's going to start expanding some little bit of extra farms soon enough. Dwarfs were coming on the aggression here, but managed to path right past a warg den and got a bit chewed up for their trouble. You always want to be coming in with as much force as possible because you need every last man usually to get the kill here. They find a builder. Are they going to get him? It's very close. He's going to book it. And even pushing a cart, he's faster than these stubby little dwarven legs. So they get to work on the granary. They move to the far side of it, or they're running around. They're not entirely sure. However, the Pinnith-Gellin riders are here. They're going to have no trouble trampling down these already beleaguered Azak Baruk. Meanwhile, the Lamadon clansmen make it to the front line. Melitsana drops a horn and gets to work. Credit to the dwarfs, they managed to pull some swordsmen out of the mine right away. It's going to be tight. Are they going to be able to clean up the clansmen? I think the clansmen are going to get it. No. Dwarfs opt for the repair ability. Dwarven skill repairs a structure, so it's going to be just fine. Over here, our Pinnith-Gellin riders, looks like they crossed paths with some dwarven pikes and come off a little worse for wear. We've got some more riders down south, some more Lamadon clansmen, some more Lamadon clansmen in the middle of the dwarf base, just looking for targets. They find themselves a mine in the east, but the dwarves in the west are starting to push forward, and there's nothing over there right now that can deal with them. Some spears online for Gondor. I don't think spears are necessary in this phase. You're not likely to see any chariots quite yet, but one never knows. One never knows. We do have some grim hammers, which will trade very well into these Lamadon clansmen, I believe. ought to be able to protect this mine, but it's going to be terribly low. This mine also pitched battle. Dwarves are doing a great job getting defenders out, but looks like that mine gets saved just barely. This mine dies. Over to the west, I think we lost maybe a granary, maybe two, because the dwarves are running amok in here. And this is how you do it. When you're going to send a raiding force, and you know the enemy's got cavalry, you can't send your swordsmen by themselves, or cavalry will come out and mow you down. You can't send spears by themselves, or swordsmen will come out and trade very easily into you. You send your swords and your spears, and all of a sudden the enemy's got to commit a fairly sizable force, and you're able to chop down farms really quickly. And we can see here, even the dwarves are able to trade really, really well. Dwarven axemen killed the swordsmen, dwarven spearmen killed the riders. And they got the farm. Great trades for the dwarves. They're level 3, level 4. They're going to get cleaned up now. They ought to turn around and see if they can book it back home if possible. A lot more dwarves on the western flank, though. They are building up there. Cavalry are making it into the back lines. Some cavalry on the eastern flank as well, giving the dwarves some grief. So Melitsana on Gondor pushing hard on the right flank. Dwarves pushing hard on the left flank. We've got some spears on the field. We got a level 5 dwarven unit, but he's not going to make it out. He dies. And we've got a big battle here, but some Sulka Bekas, the dwarven grim hammerers, are going to trade really well into the Lambadon clansmen here. Unfortunately, the Pinath Gellan riders head straight into the few remaining dwarf spears and get a really, really bad trade there. Dwarves able to clean that up. On the eastern flank, there are riders that have killed all of the mines down here. So what do we got? We got 500 command points for Gondor. If we check our dwarven friends, it's 525. No, 500 for dwarves, 525 for Gondor. So actually, 575 for Gondor. Gondor doing slightly better economically right now, though I feel like they've taken some poorer trades unit-wise. Incoming a big dwarf force here. Hammerers, 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 and some spears. I think we're going to see these poor Lambadon clansmen just beaten within an inch of their lives. Riders got to be really careful. There is a spear unit in the back here that they can't run into. Ooh, get a decent charge in, but get cleaned up as well. Those spears are just properly in the right place. More spears coming out for Gondor. This is what's hurting them. Making spear units at this point in time are just trading really, really inefficiently into the dwarven units. What's a spear cost? 300. You spend $300 dues and you get basically nothing out of it. Riders on a mine here, but we've got some defenses. All of the mines look like they're loaded up with some various dwarves, so dwarves able to pop out and defend their mines. 625 on Gondor right now, 575 for the dwarfs. A very cheeky northern expansion, sort of northwestern expansion again by Gondor is going to get cleaned up by all these angry dwarfs. Gondor could be expanded. I was going to say they could be expanding to the east here, but now they're about to lose this granary to a very slow push by the local wargs. Another fight up top. Clansmen and spearmen against a whole bunch of dwarvish hammerers, and I think we know how that goes by now. Yep, it's a resounding dwarven victory, and we're starting to get some decent levels. 2, 2, 2, 3 on these guys. Gotta be wary about feeding away too much experience or too many ring points into the enemy. The riders come over here to see if they could maybe do something about that mine, but there's just too many angry dwarfs here. We do have some dwarven mines rebuilt on their eastern flank, and now we are seeing some riders get over here. But they're mines, so the dwarves can pop in and out really easily. Out come the spears, ready to give these Pinath Gellan riders some big trouble here. We've got deep delving for the dwarves, picked up as their number 10. They got 10 points in the bank. Oh, so dwarves way ahead in command points. Holy moly. We've got a captain's horn and 9 points for Gondor. The dwarfs have dwarven skill, deep delving, and 11 points. Jesus, are they really like 12 ring points ahead? That's insane. I have heard Folks complain. Whoop, we got a big pitched battle up top, but it's a bad one for Gondor again. We're battling around a well that's going to heal all of the dwarfs, and the dwarfs are quite stout here. I have heard people complain about the Lamadon clansmen, and we're starting to see some Lusanark axemen coming out. Axemen will do a fair bit better against these dwarven units, I think, here. We'll see. And there was a hero over here, wasn't there? Or were those just axemen? Oh, they got Gloin on the field for the dwarfs. Anyway, completing my earlier thought, I had heard that the Lamadon clansmen were giving up a lot of ring points, more than you would expect. We've got a trebuchet dropped in the back of the base. Doot, doot, doot. Numenorian engineering. And it's cleared up already. One mine down south. It's about to pull down the Erebor Grand Forge just before it hits level 2. That's a great pickup. Gondor gets cleared up in the west end here. Unfortunately, it looks like they're attacking ground with the trebuchet, and he's wasting some of those valuable shots against nothing. He could have at least picked up, I think, another dwarven mine here, but I'm guessing he's going to time out before he can do that. Indeed, we got some hammers on the field also, which will be able to chop it up. Got a couple mines for his trouble, but could have done a little bit more. The trebuchet's okay, but you'd like maybe a little more value for it. Oof. Those 3 or 4 wasted shots up there really are painful now that you see that how much damage it does. And this is a level 3 mine. That would have been a huge pickup to clean up there. Big Gondorian force in the middle, but now we do finally have the ram chariots in the field. Oh, here's some spears. Are the spears able to get into position? We got horns going down. Horns of Gondor going down. Ram's looking for a way to deal with this. Charges right in. Takes some heavy damage, but not quite heavy enough. Gets an okay trample. The axemen are trading, yeah, maybe not as well as they should. A lot of these are very leveled up dwarvish units. Level 4, level 4, level 4, level 2, level 4. This same squad has been over here in the west, healing up at this well, stomping down all of Gondor that comes in. How much does an axeman cost, I wonder? The axemen are 450, so they're sort of a step up. Some spears in the field now. So now I don't begrudge him making spears, since there's actually things to spear. And we've got mangonels, the Sulun Abanul. Of course, that's exactly how you pronounce it. Mangonels coming on the field for the dwarves. The dwarves are two mangonels, and then this veteran dwarvish army starting to push up. Gondor didn't hear no bell. Another force of 4 Gondor units with Forlong the hero marching down the middle, right past this big dwarvish army. So Gondor headed into the dwarf base, dwarfs headed into the Gondorian base, but the dwarfs brought siege weapons with them, which is going to be all the difference in the world. Dwarfs pop a defensive Moria pillar. That's Moria Reclaimed. Moria Reclaimed. Summons a bunch of battalions of very elite dwarvish units. The trouble with using it defensively is that you can just leave. You don't gotta fight all these elite-ish dwarven veterans now. You just go away. They'll time out over time. Also, they should leave because they've got danger back home. Looks like the mangonels cleaned up. Was it a barracks over here, maybe? Cleans up some stuff over here, and are hard at work on a barracks here. At least a barracks, at least a farm. Will Gondor be able to clean up this force? Oof, not like that. Some of the cavalry make connection with some of the level 5 spears, and the hammerers up front, now also level 5, are actually tearing apart these Gondorian forces. Cavalry getting in. Are they going to be able to pull down the mangonels? A couple of dwarvish chariots coming up. There are spears in the field, but there's no answer actually for the dwarven hammers. I've been tearing apart Gondor. I want to say you needed to get some proper cav charges off, or if not, you need to be able to pepper them with some arrows, because running your tier 1 infantry into rank 5 dwarven grimhammers is certainly not the recipe for success. 2 barracks down, that's just breaks the back of Gondor here. What do we got? We have 0 command points on the field for Gondor. All right, I guess we're going to call it there. The dwarfs slow pushed with managed to keep a bunch of their squads alive, got them all very leveled up, very veteran. Level 5 is the max level, and that is the level that this squad, you can see by the stars above them, this squad, this squad, this squad, this squad, at least 4 squads of max level units here. A couple of chariots for good measure, and these onagers, these mangonels, whatever they are, doing some shockingly good siege damage. These guys slap. I didn't realize how much damage they did. I feel like that's a lot. Who knew? Dwarvish siege engineering, pretty strong. Gondor fighting it out, but this lonely group of, these are some knights of Minas Tirith, so we're teched up a little bit too late. We've got the Sigyn Udrig here, the Dwarvish spears here, and at least 2 squads of veteran Dwarvish spears. They try to pull down the Mangonel, but they don't make it. More Knights of Minas Tirith out. More chariots. Now the Knights actually can melee down the chariots super well. Chariots are awful at anything other than trampling. But Knights gotta run for their lives from those little stunty dwarfs with spears. They will tear them apart. And it is a slow, systematic deconstruction of the Gondorian base. The Dwarvish army perfectly happy to just sit on top of the Mangonels as they roll forward and just destroy building after building, and there is nothing Gondor can do about it. A little bit of micro and playing with the Ram Riders, but that's all she wrote there. We do have still some more production buildings in the east. Gondor is hanging on. I can tell you, I watched this earlier, and Gondor does manage to rebuild a fortress, but is still just slowly dismantled by the dwarfs. So we might call it here. We're gonna hand it off. We're gonna hand it victory. Ivaniel on Erebor takes out Melitsana. It was a good match. I think the trading was just really, really poor. Gondor had much better raiding, did a really good job of sort of penetrating into the back line. I think they probably destroyed a lot more structures, but boy, just the meat grinder of the high-end Grim hammers, and there's a Gloin in there up to level 6. Super tough. Just didn't have a good answer for that block of dwarven infantry. Just traded really, really favorably into Gondor, and eventually just got value traded down, and not even value traded down, just beaten down by them. And then the slow push from the onagers here, the Mangonels. What are they? They're one of those. I can never tell the difference. Mangonels. They're the Mangonels. The Mangonels of the dwarfs were able to slow push, and not even that slow, pretty rapidly push in. 1 shot, 2 shot. Oh, so they 3-shot farms. Whew. Savage. All right. Let's close that out. We got one more for you today. One more, I think. When we saved our last for longest, we're going to head back to our friend in Dolguldur and see how they fare against the Harad Waith. Let's go. We got a 3 for you today. A 3-fer. We've got Undecided, Dark Green on the Dolguldur, and Skarbrand in Blood Red on Harad Waith. All right, so this is our Dolguldur player we saw play earlier and managed to take out the Erebor across that river crossing. The map we have now is a little bit of an open plain for the most part. Some rocky protrusions in the middle. We've got some inns guarded by some wargs. Not a whole lot in the way of creeps. Really, just 2 warglares. Up north, Skarbrand. It is Skarbrand, right? Skarbrand, yes. Skarbrand is going straight into the Harondar outpost. You've got to go for the outpost early on because it's your only quick access to spears on Harad Waith, I believe. Your other option is really your Mahud, which can give you your Mahud spears and blowgun or swords and blowguns. Those guys are awesome, but you don't have any spears. So if your opponent, say, opened with a spider lair, and made a Fellbrood right off the bat. If you haven't made some tribal spearmen to deal with them, you don't have any answer for that for quite some time. All right, we've got the first warlords coming out. So the warlords are these individual units, and then after they're made, you can choose whether they want to recruit tribal axemen, tribal bowmen, tribal spearmen. And indeed, the first Fellbrood is on the field, and they're looking for trouble. They find a worker here. Are they going to try for the worker? Worker books it. Nope. Fellbrood is on the case with working on the bazaar. Very wisely, Skarbrand didn't choose his first unit until he saw what the enemy made, and then he was able to have them call in the tribal spearmen, which are a very hard counter for the spiders, of course. Spiders kind of count as cavalry here, so the spearmen would have torn them to pieces, managed to save that very nicely. Got some more spearmen on the field. He knows his enemy opened with spiders, so he's more spears in the field. The man's got his spears. He is not vulnerable to the spiders at all. Are we going to see any aggression? Looks like maybe he's just sort of spreading out to make sure he can guard his stuff right now. Equal command points so far. We do have a Mahood chieftain in the back, or a Mahood gathering rather, and the first Mahood warriors coming on the field. At 350, they're a tad expensive for tier 1 units, but they are like track stars. They run really fast. These guys are way quicker than most other tier 1 units. You can see as they get sent off, they leave the tribal spearmen in the dust here. Still a Fellbrood running around in the back, but they are being mirrored by some tribal spearmen who are gonna finally get on them right here. Maybe. Okay. Looks like actually the spiders managed to like trample into the rear of the spearmen because they ran into them. Lost about half the spiders for their trouble, but traded into more spearmen dead than you would have expected. And then the dreaded swords and spears pushed together. Gotta keep them on top of each other though. If you separate them, you allow the spiders to come pick up the spears, and you allow the swords to pick up their swords to get on your spears. So a bit of a micro error. They are still gonna get this slave mill for their trouble, so that is nice at least. But could have fought that a little better. If the spears had been right on top of the swords, there wouldn't have been any ability for the spiders to trample. More tribal units coming in. Tribal spearmen and Mahood warriors. Okay, was a little more careful there, keeping his Mahood out of the danger from those spiders. So he's using his spears to screen and his Mahood warriors to chop at the mills. And looks like he's going to get another one. He's also got some guys up top, but they're sitting idle. We're seeing orc hunters come on the field. There's a handful of spiders around still, looking for their opportunities. Warhorn goes down, Horn of the Serpent Lord, to buff the Mahood and the spears here, and some reinforcements come in as well. Looking very good for Harad Waith. He finally pushes in up top, but a tad late. Gives time for the orc hunters and some of this broken rabble to shift in. More Mahood warriors coming in though. These guys are not that cheap. You don't want to just feed them into the meat grinder necessarily. You want some value out of them. But that's not bad. Chopping up some archers, and then the Southern Raiding Force takes down another slave mill. Looking very good for Harad right now. Dolguldur standing the line, holding their line rather. More orc hunters out. Very light armor on the Mahood warriors, so the orc hunters, as long as they don't get jumped on top by the Mahood warriors, will plink them down quite quickly. Broken rabble are garbage, but they're very cheap at least, so they ought to do okay. Alright, we've got a fresh Fellbrood on the field, able to do some trampling. Mahood warriors are running, but if the spiders get on them, they're in big trouble here. Looks like not a lot of new raiders coming in. Dolguldur's mostly held the line. Did drop 2 or 3 slave mills, though. 625 command points on Harad, and 475 on Dolguldur. So a pretty big difference at the moment. 525, they're coming back. Strong economic wins for Harad Waith, getting ahead by destroying all those things. We got tribal spears, tribal archers, Mahood warriors, tribal archers, tribal spears. Just a big tribal warrior spam here. Indeed, he's got 3 Harandar outposts online. Are any of them teched up? This one's level 2. Level 1. Okay, so this level 2 is starting to get some raiders out. Raiders will be huge, because I don't think we're seeing much in the way. Just the very first spearman comes out just now for Dolguldur, so maybe you've missed your window a little bit. But a raider unit a little bit earlier there tramples down every single thing that Dolguldur has. But spears are starting to come out now, and it looks like both sides are happy to sit back and see how things develop. 625 for Dolguldur at the moment, 775 for Harad Waith. And they get vision of a slave mill down south because it is directly next to one of their bazaars, so they go to clean that up with their raiders. Dolguldur shifting to the east with their large force, a lot of broken rabble, a little bit of spears, a little bit of their fell brood spiders. Horn goes down in the east so that they could trade with those spiders. Combat goes down in the west. Fortunately, it's spears for the tribal spearmen here, so they're not going to trade very well into the big infantry force. They do clean up the fell brood in the east, but lose most of their stuff that we're attacking on the western end there. They clean up another slave mill. And folks are mostly backing off again. Are we seeing any new tech? Yes, we've got Orc Ravagers starting to come online for Dolguldur. Starting to see more Raiders come out. Raiders are still kind of a light cavalry. They're not going to dominate this force. And indeed, they got to be careful because the spears are on this flank. They're going very wide. There's not a ton of spears. If they had gone on the left side of this battle, they could have trampled down a lot of this stuff. And they're stuck in the wargs. Okay, well that's not how it's done. A couple of raiders, a couple more forces come in, just trading, but now the Ravagers show up. I think they might be getting drained down because they're not by any of their proper necromantic energy. But still, the Ravagers ought to tear apart most of these tribal units. The force is very, very light tribal units from Harad so far. Super flexible, pretty cheap, but not able to trade into something heavier like these Ravagers. Of course, we saw the Ravagers trade quite well into the Dwarvish infantry, and they will tear apart this tribal infantry. Although I don't know that they've got a source of necromantic energy, so I think they're all kind of slowly dying. Okay, I think that counts, doesn't it? The Forest of Fear. Nearby Dolguldur, afflicted by slow decay, are no longer drained over time. They're buffed, and there's a whole bunch of spiders in the forest that eat everybody. Dolguldur pushed back, though. A large number of raiding cavalry on the field. They're going looking for trouble. What'll they find? They find some neutral wargs. They get shot at a little bit, and spears are now into position to defend the army, so they're forced to keep looking. Tribal Axemen pushing a little up top. Ooh, we got the first Mumak on the field. Mumakil! Raiders coming through. Are they charging anything? I haven't seen any... Okay, there's a little bit of charging. A little bit of charging on the Ravagers, but not a ton. The Raiders up here looking for trouble. They're probably going to pull down another slave mill. Big battle in the middle. Mumak's trampling down. You'd love to see it. Horn of the Easterlings goes down. A lot of axemen here trading into spearmen, so that should be pretty promising for Harad Waith here. Mumax may be going in over some spears, but now it looks like he's okay. Necromancer on the field, though. We got a summons of a couple of extra orcs to help out. We got some fell brood as well. A summon of spears just as the fell brood goes in. That's great play. Great play. You identify that the enemy's about to charge you, and you put some emergency spears in the field with the Khan's phalanx. Mumak's got to run, though. He's slowly getting plinked down by 100 angry orc jailers with pointy sticks. The raiders to the west must have gotten cleaned up by spears. I'm not seeing a whole lot more else coming out from them. So all of our action is here in the east. 10 points in the bank on Dolguldur at 750. maybe already a level 10 or 15. Did he pick? He picked 2 5s. So they're pretty close on power points, but 925 command points is a big command point and economic lead for Harad Waith still. What do we got here? Tribal axemen, more tribal stuff. A tad heavy on the tribal units. He's got the better economy. We do have one Mumak here who's pretty badly hurt, though. He needs to go back here and hang out by his Mumakil gathering, which I think heals nearby Mumakil. I don't know if it. I know it does it at level 3 for sure. I'm not sure if it does it at level 2 or not. But you got to send your Mumakil back to the gathering to heal up. And we're starting to see a bunch more of the Orc Ravagers. Higher tier, very tough infantry. Gonna tear through these tribal units. Tribal units again. Ooh, Mumak runs into some spears. He was already low on health. Doesn't survive very long. We've got the Necromancer here, level 2. Just doing Sauron things. Especially against these poor tribal units. They've got no chance against some of these tougher Dolguldur forces. But they're fighting it out. We got archers trading here. We got a Mumakin. He does manage to kill everything but the good units, forcing Dolguldur to fall back. A couple units of the Ravagers fall back. The Necromancer falls back. He still has some jailers here to keep the Mumak somewhat honest. Harad pushing in. I don't know that this is necessarily favored for them. Manages to parch the ground. Dry spells the thing over here. A trample from the Mumakil, but straight into some jailers, unfortunately. Oh, it's very sad. And we've got the Black Warg on the field to summon from the Necromancer. Harad Waith pushed off. And we've also got some raiding up north. We've got some Fell Spiders trying to pick stuff up. They already have a number of tribesmen on them, though. And it doesn't look like they're going to be successful. We do have Casimir on the field, level 3 already. Casimir, of course, buffs Black Numenorians. Unfortunately, we haven't got any Black Numenorians. I would certainly recommend them at some point soonish. Okay, Umbrian Citadel starting to go up in the back. He's still going to need to upgrade that, because the Corsairs aren't going to do him any good at this point in the game. He needs some Numenorians. He needs some higher tier units to work with here. This one's upgraded to level 3, this Harondor Outpost. You could start putting Harondor archers, which are one of their best archer options. You can get spearmen, but spears haven't really been in high demand. He's mostly been losing, I think, to the strong use of Orc Ravagers, and then the Necromancer, of course, is very, very tough. A lot of Ravagers on the field. Yeah, the tribesmen are going to struggle. We've got a corrupted, a font of corruption over here to the west. They might be able to clean it up, but no, they get distracted away from it. They're going back to it. We've got a large tribal force here, across from a big force of Dol Guldur. And they do clean up this font of corruption, getting a whole bunch of XP for their trouble. Spears are able to stab a couple of spiders, but in come the Orc Ravagers, which ought to be able to clean up everything in here, I would think. 16 points for unspent right now. And we've got the Spell of Concealment for Dol Guldur. Friendly units and structures within the area become stealth. Nearby enemies lose damage and armor and nullifies leadership. Did that get cast somewhere? I just didn't see it, or maybe it was a while ago. The big tribal force, a big tribal Zerg here. For 824 command points of units for Harad Waith versus only 480 command points of units right now for Dol Guldur. It's a huge force, but again, they're quite low. So, okay, we've got some Harondor archers on the field now. These are our higher tier 2 archers. Ought to be a pretty good option for dealing with the Ravagers. Alright, we've got a forward oasis as well to offer some healing and buffing options. And combat is joined, but not for everything. A bunch of the Harad Waith forces are getting left out. There's a summons. Everybody's dropping all their abilities. We've got the forest comes down. We've got the warhounds coming out. Too many units are hanging back and not getting anything done. Mumakil comes in, but you don't really want him right here. This is where all of the spears are. And indeed, he goes down almost immediately. Caravan coming up. That would have been nice to have at the start here. You're a little late now. These guys have a note from the doctor. They got stunned by a spooky wraith. But now I think they could have gone up and helped. Just a good engagement for Dolguldur. Managed to have their whole army. Is that Kara Lumbar on the field? Karan Lambar. Close enough. He is a beast, but he is surrounded by a whole lot of orcs with spears right now. But he is a beast. Look at him go. He's bonking. Speaking of beasts, though, we've got the Necromancer down here with his little Ravager bodyguard. They clean up the caravan. The oasis is still standing. But Dolguldur manages to push back that strong, huge army from Harad Waith. Just not a great engagement for Harad Waith there. They didn't have all their forces brought to bear. They fought a little bit piecemeal. They fought on top of some buffs for Dolguldur there. I think that could have gone a bit more in their favor, but wasn't meant to be. 400 of 900 for Dolguldur right now. 600 of 1,000 for Harad Waith. So still the larger Harad army here. Stronger archers, but still just a tribal front line. We are getting the cleanup of some... Ooh, a lot of spells going down. The Necromancer's up to level 5. He's going to start getting even nastier than he already was. Anything going down in the west? 3 warlords? Without summoned units headed to the west? They better summon something. They're about to get run down by Felbrood. That's no good. That's no good. So this is basically 3 full squads of units. You could turn one of these guys into spears and they'd insta-kill all those. Okay, now they're making units. He was trying it for like a little stealth action. A bit more of a straight line ran straight into the enemy's units there. But he does have 3 squads now in the back line, tearing up this is it a jail? No, slave mill. It's a mill, not a jail. The slaves aren't jailed, they're just milling. Black Warg is the summon of the Necromancer running around causing some trouble. Dolguldur looks like a lot of its forces are coming back home to deal with the raiders. I like the raiders idea. I think they did pretty good, and they're quite cheap. I mean, 600. There was 600. Three units of those tribal units are just 600, right? I'm not even crazy about that. $200 for a Harandar warlord. So yeah, 600 is totally a reasonable investment to pull down a level 2 or level 3 slave mill in the back. And we see another slave mill go down in the front. There was some raiding to the east here. I didn't see if it was successful at all, but 1,000 command points for Harad Waith. Only 750 for Dolguldur, but 750 already all filled up. He's got 760 units of men, 360 Harad Waith right now. So a really big Dolguldur army on the field for the moment. Spiders headed to the east. They find themselves a bazaar. Needs to start pulling down this economic advantage. Golden King on the field for Harad Waith. He's getting his expensive heroes out. Not a lot of expensive units out, though. Harandar archers. Okay, we do have the capabilities of some Black Númenóreans or some Númenórean Vanguard. Alright, queued up both. Númenórean cavalry, Númenórean warriors starting to come out. Finally, some higher tier warriors for Harandar. Oh, we've already got some Black Númenóreans on the field. Spiders actually are pretty nasty to fight against, especially if they get themselves a little buff to work with. But Black Númenóreans are fairly legitimately an elite cavalry unit. They're quite tough. They fall back a little bit, but now they've got their reinforcements of a vulture coming to help. Vultures, I think, actually get bonus against cavalry, if I'm not mistaken. Strong versus infantry and cavalry. Yep, carrion feeders, giant vultures. Whole bunch of black wargs get summoned to go in, but that ain't the play, chief. Black wargs are not going to trade well into the Black Númenóreans. Númenóreans get a horn. There's also the Golden King in there somewhere, so very favorable trade for Harad. And I think by the grace of Morgul, they managed to even defend that bazaar with like 1 hit point left on it, basically. Over here you got Karan Lambar, level 1, trying to solo that slave mill, strangely enough. Up north, Dolguldur's pushing in, and we've got battle lines being drawn. Harad falling back a little bit. They need to consolidate. Down south, there's the Númenóreans with the Golden King continuing to push in and punish slave mills. Karan Lambar finishes solo in his slave mill there. Up north, Dolguldur pushing forward. Necromancer at level 5. Big force of a lot of spears and axes here. And we get a stun on all of the back units. We get the Cursed Forest go down. This is a bad fight for Harad here. Pikes get called in on the back, but there's not a good target for them. They're actually getting chopped up pretty badly by some Ravagers. But these are pretty decent pike units. They're holding okay. We lose maybe 1 bazaar. Got a lot of Harandar archers here, which would be great, but you don't really want them in melee with the Ravagers. Meanwhile, down south, pushing deep, causing some more trouble with the Black Númenóreans, but I don't know if they're going to get enough done here. We're also cleaning up another slave mill over in the east, but the main force of Dolguldur continuing to push in, starting to get whittled down a bit. We're starting to get some higher tier units here. Black Númenóreans chopping up bad guys. Harandar spearmen, but there's not a good target for them. Karan Lambar in there, also chopping up a bunch of vultures flying around, and probably the best thing for Harad right now is they're in the back here. These archers have been able to fire away. Orc jailers summoned in. Down south, still a lot of raiding from the heavy cav. Caravan gets cleaned up. Pitched battles. The Necromancer is feasting here, up to level 7. He's causing a lot of problems, but most of his best units have been chopped up. He still has a core of infantry here. Is he going to be able to get down this outpost as well? Maybe. That would be pretty big, actually. It might actually be bad for him, because it's going to convince Harad to actually start making only better tier units. It was a pretty strong force from Dolguldur. They managed to clean up at least 2 or 3 of the... Oh, Harad calls in the Black Matriarch back here. That's what that was. I thought it was a Mumakil up front. And then wisely uses it to tear up the infrastructure. Ooh, savage. Black Matriarch, extremely tough. Does a ton of damage to buildings. And the way to use her really is to tear down all these buildings. So all of the unit production buildings are down for Dolguldur. It's a waste to have her on the fortress. You can see she only tickles the fortress when she hits it, compared to the sort of damage she does to other buildings. Most units and summonables and stuff like that have a drastically reduced amount of damage they do to the fortress. So you can't just summon them and core out someone's base. But they do still do full damage against all of the enemies, you know, barracks and mills and farms and things. So use these big summons, like he did here. Tear down all of the construction units. Dolguldur, 200 of 900, 9,000 in the bank, but no way to spend it. Making jails like mad, trying to get some production on the field. Is Harad Waith going to be able to capitalize on this? He's got 600 command points of units on the field, a lot of elite cavalry. I think Dolguldur's in big trouble here. Does still have the Necromancer at a very high level and a core of some tough leveled up Ravagers with Blighted Trappers. This is, you know, this is the dream team of Dolguldur. Ravagers in front, Blighted Trappers behind. Very tough to deal with, very high damage, very difficult units. But he can't make any more. Not for a while. Okay, he's got some jailers online. He's making some hunters and some spears. So he has managed to rebuild a little bit. I love this giant Great Scorpion. Get your Great Scorpions out. Start tearing down as much more on the field as possible. But looks like he's gone back home to buy upgrades. I would have liked to see some more aggression, because he's starting to rebuild. maybe he might have lost too much production as well, because he did lose a lot of his tribal production buildings when Dolguldur pushed in before. He could have kept cranking out, you know, Númenóreans, I would think. And he does have a lot of Númenórean cavalry. There's more caravans on the field. But I think he may have missed his window there. The Black Matriarch did such good damage, took out all of the leveled up production buildings, but they've been rebuilt at this point. Not quite leveled up yet, but rebuilt at least enough to get some sort of production of lower tier units on the field. And we've seen Dolguldur has climbed from 200 command points back up to 600 of 975. Harad Waith at 700 of 1,000. Númenórean's going in again. Looks like he's using his Black Númenórean cavalry as more of a raiding force. I think he could probably get a little more value out of them if he was using them more as a proper heavy cavalry here. There aren't a ton. There's like 5 guys with spears in this whole army. You send 2 units of elite heavy cavalry into them that even have some upgrades on them, and they would just wreck a lot of this stuff. You know, your Black Númenórean warriors are good, but they're trading on a much more even level here, while your vanguard would be hard countering. And now they themselves are being hard countered by Orc jailers. We've got some Burning Sun on the field. The Unrelenting Sun. Enemies across the map are slowed and take damage over time. A lot of combat in the front lines, mostly spears here, looks like. Not what you want to be sending into the likes of Trappers and Ravagers. Mumak comes in, I like that, but... Ooh, what was that? Oh, as a level 9 Necromancer who was wreathed in flame, blasting back enemies, erupting in flames, setting the surrounding area on fire. Cavalry come home, but it's a bit late now. There's an awful lot of spears here. Always want to, and the Scorpion unfortunately goes straight in on the spears. Cav charge onto the spears. The Cav are so buff they could even charge right into the spears and be okay for a little while, but this is just all spears now, so now you don't need your cavalry here. It's been a whole game of just missed opportunities, or just a little bit too late to this one thing. Cav are able to clean up the spiders, no problem. But there's a lot of Dolguldur delving pretty greedily and pretty deep here. But the level 9 Necromancer is, there is just no answer on Harad Waith for them. Siege Mumak on the field, but he's getting a bit chased down by the Risen Dead. In the back line, still more raiding from the Black Númenóreans, but credit to Dolguldur, they've done a pretty decent job of defending their black line. You know, 2 squads of Black Númenóreans can take down mills and things quite quickly, but they haven't, from what I've seen, they haven't gotten too much done. There you go. Trample down these Ravagers, make them pay. They're very expensive. Trample them down with your heavy cav, and they're not getting any of the value that they would like to get from trying to hew into your... Oh, what was that? Oh, that's just the Necromancer up here blasting stuff. A lot of black wargs causing trouble. Out come the Khan's phalanx, and we do have the Necromancer surrounded here. You want to get the phalanx on him. The phalanx will trade favorably into him. Your cavalry not so much. But of course the Necromancer does have his Shapeless Malice online, and I expect him to use it any second now. Allows him to become incorporeal, moving quickly across the map, terrifying nearby enemies in the process. So he's popping some spells. In come the Cursed Forest. And there's the Shapeless Malice. We see him turn into this black mist, and he is out. Another wave of Orc jailers coming up, but not really anything to support them with, so they're forced to fall back. We've got 500 of 900 for Harad Waith, and 450 of 1,000 for Dolguldur. Dolguldur, maybe for the first time, takes the command point and economic advantage. Managed to do some pretty decent damage to the economy of Harad here. Although there are still an awful lot of bazaars up along the map. I think if Dolguldur was as diligent in getting some raiding forces around as Harad had been, I think they could have wreaked quite some havoc. But credit, both players have done a decent enough job of defending their borders. A lot of spears here. Blighted Trappers coming online. Orc Ravagers. More Blighted Trappers. More Orc Ravagers. Like I said, the Black Warg, the summon from the Necromancer, is looking around. He's trying to bite. He's doing okay. He's trying to bite down the Pavilion of the Golden King. My god, he might get it, because they're not taking him seriously. Oh, and we see the 25-point power used. Where is it? Where is it? The Gift of the Necromancer. Summons a controllable swirling green mist. All units, friend and foe, take damage and are turned into wraiths. Dolguldur pushing in. A strong wraith army here. Not super high tier, but just a lot. Oh, never mind. Not a lot. Turnabout's fair play, as we have the Burning Sands. A fiery beam of sunlight scorches the battlefield, and basically the entire Dolguldurian army gets roasted. Necromancer is able to back off at about 30%, and I don't think these Black Numenorians are quite going to catch him. Both players use army wiping special abilities, and we're back to some parity here. Who's going to rebuild faster? We got 1,800 in the bank. Oh, we got almost 10k in the bank for Dolguldur. Wow. Wow, that is a lot of money to be sitting on. We do have some Black Numenorian vanguards coming around, picking up some slave mills, trading pretty well into that. We do get a cleanup up top. The Black Numenorians trade just fine into those Fellbroods. Some Harandar riders, we're starting to see some lower tier units come out again. I think the economic advantage is tilting pretty heavily in favor of Dolguldur. They're at 1,000 command points. We got 1,000 command points for Harad Waith. Harad Waith ought to be making a lot of money, but the Black Numenorians are very expensive. 1,000 cost for the cavalry, and we've gone through a lot of those. 700 cost for the warriors, and we've gone through quite a lot of those as well. Only 800 in the bank. We're starting to see the likes of new tribal encampments go up. We're starting to see Mahood warriors come out. Oop, that's not good. It's a sign of desperation when you start down-teching your armies. 500 command points on the field for Harad, and almost 700 for Dolguldur. And we're seeing the Entwives come out as well, the siege units. There's a siege Mumak here, but that's not going to get the job done against this army. The level 10 Necromancer is in here causing trouble. We do have Casimir, we do have Karan Lambar here fighting. But at the same time, I think we also have, a level 10 Kargast as well. I didn't even see him, he's been hiding all game. Out come the Wraiths, out come the extra Black Wargs. Not a huge force for Dolguldur, but it looks even a little thinner on the side of Harad here. I gotta think that Mumak, yep, he's at like 10 hit points. Someone just punch him, there he goes. The Mumak goes down, so we got some Black Numenorians. Karan Lambar is doing what he can. Ooh, the Necromancer pops the Wreathed in Flame. Roasts quite a lot of units, but forced to retreat. We got Kamul the Easterling, the Nazgul on the field. Crimple the Torturer is level 10 in there too. Okay, so both Crimple and Kargast escape low on hit points. Both are level 10. So we've got at least 3 level 10 heroes for Dolguldur, and we wondered if they were trading well. Whew, lordy. Looks like only Karan Lambar on the field for Harad. They're in big trouble. 1,000 in the bank, 200 command points. Meanwhile, Dolguldur up to 340 command points of units and still 7,000 in the bank. They must just be trading so efficiently here, because they're just maintaining. They're mostly buying Orc Jailers that cost only 200. Tons and tons of jailers. Got a bunch of Ravagers queued up. Ravagers are 600, but still, that's quite a bit cheaper than the Numenorians. The Entwives and their little acorns do get cleaned up. We're starting to have some Harandar archers on the field. Okay, that makes sense. He wanted to rebuild his outposts because he wanted to be able to tech up to be able to get some archers and spears available. He hasn't suffered too much at the hands of cavalry-type units. I guess there's been a lot of black wargs around. There are some Fellbrood around, but we're seeing a forward jail, forward spider lair. Looks like Dolguldur smells blood in the water. Who's our boy? Our boy Undecided Viscarbrand here. Another big battle going in. Camul the Easterling gets just beaten down by Karan Lumbar. Oh! Harad calls it. He can tell that this is a fully stacked army of Dol Guldur, and he just was not able to rebuild his numbers. And there we have it. Three games. We had Dol Guldur versus Erebor. We had what was it? Not Rohan, but Gondor. We had Gondor face off against the dwarves of Erebor as well, and then we had Dol Guldur against Harad. A great battle. It was a lot of fun. These were the beginning tournaments. If you like these, you could watch the whole stream, which Turin played live on his channel, is Turin RTS. I've got a couple more games we could cast as well. If at all possible, I will play in the next ones. We're having a great time with Battle for Middle-earth. Again, this is the Age of the Ring mod. This is a free standalone download. You can go to ModDB and download it. You don't need to own the game, Battle for Middle-earth. You could just download the mod and start playing. It's pretty easy. It's super fun. There's a ton of people playing. There's a ton of new players playing and getting their hands around how things work. So it's a great time to jump in. Thanks for watching, folks. That was a fun one, and there'll be more to come in the future. Take it easy.